Hey guys, it's Full Cards here, live and direct from Brooklyn, New York. And I just popped open a box of 2013-14 Decades and 90s from In the Game. In the Game's been around since the 1990s. They're now, I think, owned by Leaf Products. They are also equally associated with Be a Player, Between the Pipes, the Final Vault, the Mask cards. Within the box, you should get 3 hard-signed autos, 3 game-used memorabilia cards, 6 premium base, and 2 non-memorabilia inserts. Those would theoretically be mask cards or rookie cards, but rookie cards that encapsulate the entire decade. So you could get a Cujo or a Felix Potvin or a Timo Selanne or a John Leclerc or something of that nature. Price point for this, probably about 45 bucks is what I would call fair and square. Above that, maybe not so much, but it's a cool product nonetheless. Also very similar to the Vault product, which you may remember, the Final Vault. So let's go through these hits. A lot of base cards though. There's like I think 6 guaranteed base cards, 14 cards total. So here we are. I'm just going to do a quick recap today as opposed to doing it slow and low and low and slow like I usually do it. So in terms of base cards, you see right in the window there that we have a Gilbert Dion, who is of course on the Stanley Cup winning Montreal Canadiens in 1993. The Habs, who've been, rebuilding and getting a lot of flack over the past couple of weeks and years, are actually the last Canadian team to win the Cup, believe it or not, as sad as that is. Also because the Jets and the Sens and other teams haven't even ever won the Cup. Calgary won the Cup last in '89. I believe the Edmonton Oilers last won in '90. Anyways, so this is Gilbert Dion of the 1993 Cup team. And this would just be a normal silver platinum-like base card. And then we have this Joel Otto, who was a very competent defenseman in his era back in the day. You may remember him on your Calgary Flames. Very cool. And he's from Minnesota, so he's an American-born player. And then we got a Wendell Young, another base card. These are all sort of platinum shiny cards, a little bit thick, pretty nice shape, I'd say. And we got a Mario base card, so we did hit a Mario base card, which is nice. And look at that, 915 games played. Look at his point total, 1,723 in only 900 games. He had a fairly short career in 2 patches. He got sick and then he came back. He retired because of his back, and he was frustrated with all the holding and grabbing in the league, which they've since changed to their credit. Here's Kirk Muller. Kirk Muller, who played on multiple teams, won his Stanley Cup in '93 with the Habs, so he's fondly remembered there. But you also know him from your Toronto Maple Leafs, Dallas Stars. And this, I believe, is a gold parallel in comparison and contrast to these, I believe. Looks to be gold on the top. Hard to tell in the light here. And the gold parallels are numbered, or well, they're 230. I don't think they're numbered, but I think the print run is 30. Very often in the game, products have limited print runs, so you have to sort of look online to see what they are. They're not necessarily numbered, but there are only 3 cards of them. Here is an Enforcer's card, which is really cool. This is a base card, but it's actually up on the checklist, up in the 181. And of course, Probert Domi is probably the most notable fighters of their era. Domi, of course, his son is Max Domi, but he's best known for punching out Probert and taking the heavyweight championship. And he sort of did this mimicked, having the belt, a WWF belt or WBC or whatever they're called, belt. And they are those fights are probably 2 of the most notable fights you'll ever see online on YouTube. And interesting, after he did all that flossing about winning the belt, Mark Messier sat him down and just stared at him and told him to never do it again. In other words, not to hot dog. So he stopped hot dogging after that because Moose told him not to do it. Did get 2 rookie cards, did not get a mask card. So let's see what these rookie cards are. I did get a Peter Forsberg rookie card, which is really nice. And look how young Forsberg is. And he, as you can see, was a 6th overall pick from the Flyers. And of course, he was involved in the the famous trade of Eric Lindros, who did not want to play with Quebec. And years later, he explained why. It had to do with wrongdoing, put it that way. And here's a Thomas Holmstrom rookie card, Decades rookie card. And so those would be our two non-memorabilia, non-base cards, if you will. Continuing on to our autos, the auto department here. I got this one of Paul Louse, so that's a little bit lackluster. I think the autos here are not the best. I've had better ones. They look a lot like the Between the Pipe autos. You might be familiar with the Between the Pipe product. Very cool product. All the autos are typically designated A something, A plus a name initial. So we got this Paul Louse one. We got this one here. You may recall this guy here, Dan Cloutier. Dan Cloutier also played with your Vancouver Canucks in the 90s. So that's kind of cool to get a Dan Cloutier. And what else did we get? We got a Tim Cheveldae. Tim Cheveldae, so a couple of goaltenders. I'm a goalie, so I love seeing the goaltenders. And Tim Cheveldae, of course, you would remember from the Red Wings. He was drafted fairly high by them. But you would also perhaps recall that he played with the Winnipeg Jets before they disappeared and came back again. So pretty cool for Jets fans to see a Tim Cheveldae. Who else? Let's see. So next we're on to the jersey cards. So let's go through the jersey cards here. And, oops, let me turn this around. And first I have the Stevie Y, a Stevie Y jersey card. Really cool. So this is really nice. I mean, it's a very clean card for in the game. In the game tends to have sort of mediocre design, a little bit. Leaf too. I have to say, Leaf cards are so gaudy and campy and weird, with just too much going on. So something inherent to the In the Game and the Leaf brand that just has really bizarre design. Nonetheless, Stevie Y was one of the best players of his era. He won the Stanley Cup. He's also been a great GM with Tampa Bay, just absolutely astonishingly good GM. And he's notable for having played in the playoffs once on a broken leg, if you can imagine that. That's how much of a gamer Stevie Y was back in the day, an absolute legend of the game. And I got something underneath this, I'm just gonna hide it. And then I got this one here. So this would happen to be Chris Chelios. Chris Chelios is a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. So he himself is a legend. He played, what did he play till like 50 or something? He played forever. He had a really long, extensive career. I think he also was a friend of Eddie Vedder's. Anyway, Steve Chelios, infamously traded by the Habs who are known to trade. They traded him, I guess, for Denis Savard, unless I'm mistaken. But Chris Chelios, a Habs legend and a Blackhawk legend. So this is kind of cool. It's a 2-color jersey relic. So it's a really nice card. It's actually a silver. Sometimes you get the gold ones. So I believe this is just sort of a base one, if you will. Still pretty cool nonetheless. Really nice card. So that's nice. It kind of makes up for the autos being so-so. Finally, last card here. And even when I try to do a 5-minute video, it ends up being 10 minutes because I get sort of lost in the history of the game, but that's just me. Boom! Look at this thing. I got this beautiful Mark Messier Grand Fuhr, and it's a Cam Neely and Ray Bure card. So this is a clash of the titans of two great Stanley Cup teams back in the 1980s, 1990s. So that is just really cool. Beautiful cards. So I got Moose Messier. I have Grant Fuhr, who's a legend, an absolute legend. He had also one of the most famous early masks with his oiled drip or whatever. This was the updated mask. The first person to ever put, as far as I know, to put the cage on top of the mask was Tony Esposito, but lo and behold, Grant Fuhr did later in his career. And of course, Cam Neely, who's a legend and in the brass of Boston now, he retired a bit early. He was a Hab killer. And there's, of course, Ray Bourque, who finally won a Stanley Cup, and he's most known for the precision of his shots and just commanding, being a real quarterback of a defenseman. So that's basically it, guys. An interesting box. As I said, $45 price point's about right for this. I wouldn't pay too much more than that. Quickly going through the cards, you see I got really decent jersey cards. I got a couple of goalies, which is fun for an ex-goaltender like myself to get Cheveldae and to get Kluche, if you remember them. This one's a little bit less known. I did, of course, get 2 rookie cards. I would prefer maybe getting a mass card, which you can also get as opposed to the rookies. And these were actually really good. As far as the base cards, the Enforcers is a beautiful card and so historical to have Probert and Domi. And for me to have a Muller. So definitely some Habs in here, a couple of from the Habs for the 1993 Cup. Habs going through a rebuild now, and I know people talk a lot of trash, but you know, the Canadian teams have had a hard time of it in general, and that's maybe there's just so much pressure and talk radio gets people to make bad decisions. But I actually have only love for the Leafs, even though I'm a Habs fan. Only love for the Oil, even though I'm a Habs fan. Only love for Calgary, etc. So there you go. On Fulton Cards, live and direct from a place called Brooklyn, New York.